Hey everybody, I'm Shaykara Waajid. As they introduce me, I go by Shay. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off this presentation. It's not going to be a lecture, and I'm looking for everybody to stay engaged in the chat because it's very awkward to talk to a computer screen. So let's go ahead and go. Let's go to the first slide. All right, so this is a little bit about me. I'm not going to read it word for word. For those of you that don't know, I'm originally from Columbia, South Carolina. 803 stand up. I know we was having that war a little bit in the chat earlier. I'm the oldest of four. Anybody that knows me know that's my pride and joy. I love my siblings to death. I attended USC for undergrad, and I got my MBA in HR management from Winthrop. And now I serve as the global operations manager for Women Who Code, as well as the co-founder and CEO for my baby, 3MC Business Solutions. So let's jump into it. So the first thing I want to do is a deep dive. I'm going to ask some probing questions, and they're really rhetorical. We can go to the next slide. They're really rhetorical, but I want you guys to actually think about what your responses will be because we're going to do a quick activity after where I'm going to ask you to drop some numbers in the chat. So some of the questions I want you to start asking yourself before we kick off the activity is, do you have a desire for a more meaningful and fulfilling life? Does that desire have you feeling lost at times, or maybe sometimes you're just a little confused? Or have you outgrown your current reality but aren't sure exactly what you're looking for next? And then there might be a group of you that you're not unhappy, but you're content, and content just isn't good enough for you. So if any of you can resonate with that, drop some ones in the chat for me right now. If you can resonate with any of those statements that's on the screen. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do an activity. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and on a scale of 1 to 10, you're going to drop the number on where you stand with that question. And then at the end, we'll reel it in, and I'll explain why I asked those 3 questions. So the first question I have is, on a scale of 1 to 10, indicate how satisfied you are with your life right now. Okay. I'm going to give y'all some time. I'm going to wait till I stop seeing the chat being active. Loving the honesty too. Loving the honesty. All right. So the second question I got for y'all is, drop a number on a scale of 1 to 10 to indicate how aligned you are with your purpose and the vision of your end goal, whatever that end goal may be for you personally. How aligned do you think you are with your purpose and the vision of your end goal? Scale of 1 to 10. All right, last question. Drop a number on the scale of 1 to 10 to indicate how confident you are in your ability to achieve your end goal or fulfill your purpose. Okay, so before I explain why I asked those questions and what the correlation is, I'm gonna give y'all a chance to maybe guess what y'all think I'm doing here, or if any of you guys have idea of what you think I'm probing for, go ahead and drop that in the chat. Oh, y'all still dropping numbers? Okay. No guesses? Okay. I see your guess, Mallory. Anybody else? So basically, what I wanted to do a deep dive on is everybody's alignment with their purpose and what it is their end goal is. Quick disclaimer, I'm no subject matter expert on this, but I think I have done decent on figuring it out. Usually there's a high correlation between knowing exactly what you want out of life and being satisfied with life. It's very, very, very hard to be satisfied where you are in life when you have absolutely no idea where you're going. You got to have some sort of end goal or some sort of vision or picture of where it is you're heading. Otherwise, we're all just lost in the sauce and, going with the flow. So a lot of you, I noticed, if you had low numbers on the question on how satisfied you are with life, you also had low numbers on what your purpose and vision was and how confident you were in your ability to achieve it. So one thing I want to challenge everybody to do is take the time to actually explore what your end goal is. And I think a lot of times we overcomplicate that. I was watching a sermon once, and TD Jakes and his wife said their joint goal as a married couple was to retire and be able to sit under an oak tree and sip sweet tea all day. So, that sounds super simple, but when you think about the logistics behind that, my mind started turning like, okay, that meant their retirement account had to be on point. That meant they had to set themselves up for their kids not to worry about anything. And so, in simple terms, my end goal became generational wealth. I don't want to just make enough to pay the bills or go on vacation. I want to make enough to ensure me and my family never, and my friends never have to worry about money ever again. And then you implement a plan. So my plan became multiple streams of income, retirement savings, and investments. So I'm challenging everybody to really think about and do a deep dive on what their end goal is in life, and what their plan is going to be to execute it. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So I also want to give a friendly reminder. Nobody asked, but I'm gonna drop this here just because I think this is a very important nugget. Just from being on social media, I know we haven't been active socially because of COVID, but I've been seeing a lot of conversations of the whole 9 to 5 versus entrepreneurship, and it doesn't have to be a battle. But I want to remind everybody that your job only determines your salary. Nobody has complete control over their salary. You know what I mean? You don't own that company. You're probably not in the C-suite. You have absolutely no control over your salary. But what we do have complete control over is our total income. The dollar amount that's on your offer letter, what your job is paying you biweekly or monthly, that's what they can afford or choose to afford. I'm going to put a heavy emphasis on that as well. But that does not determine your true value. And your job does not always correlate to your God-given purpose. So do not let any of the above be a blocker when you start to self-evaluate and figure out exactly what you want your end goal to be in life and what you feel like your God-given purpose is to fulfill while you are on this earth. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. So for our talk today, I have a list of topics of discussions I want to personally cover. Everything that's on here has been a guiding light or force for me to figure out what my purpose was and be able to visualize and communicate what my end goal was. Because sometimes we have the vision, but we can't communicate it. And I think that's just as important, especially if you have a spouse, you guys need to be able to communicate what your joint goal is going to be. So to kick us off, I want to make sure I touch on the topic of not being afraid of being a hustler. I am literally trying to build a 6-figure company from my home office. I'm in it right now, while being employed on a 9 to 5, and there's absolutely no shame in my game. My CEO is aware of what my end goal is. My coworkers, who have now become my friends, are aware of what my end goal is, and it is what it is. And I personally made that decision because I know it's easy to launch a company, but not everyone can maintain or scale a company. People are launching businesses and brands left and right, but how many of them are making it to their 5-year mark, their 10-year mark, and bringing in revenue consistently? So that's why I chose to be strategic and stay employed to execute my end goal. That might not be the case for everybody. Every entrepreneurship venue looks different as well. So really take the time to explore. Again, I'm saying what your end goal is and what your plan is going to be to execute and get to that end goal. So the first topic of discussion I want to talk about is talking about money often. I really don't know where it stems from, but I've been in a few different situations in different rooms. And anytime I'm in a room where it's majority Black, people are afraid to talk about money and generating wealth. It's like taboo. Nobody wants to talk about money. But anytime I'm in a room where the decision makers are and the people that signing the checks, that's always the topic of discussion, is money, how they can accumulate money, how they're going to accumulate generational wealth. So I'm encouraging everybody to stop being afraid to talk about money often. Me and my boyfriend had a small intimate cookout last weekend, and one of the huge topics of discussions was generational wealth. And that was refreshing for me because it's very rare. Like I said, you sit in a room with minorities and that's what they're talking about. And from that conversation, everybody learns so much. So for example, I'm going to do a quick activity. Drop a 1 in the chat if you know what your employer's 401k match is. If you know what % you have to invest in your 401k for your employer to match it. Drop a 1 if you know that. And drop a 10 if you don't, because some of you may not know. Okay. Be white, always honest. So my token to you all is, if you don't know, figure it out, because that's free money you leaving on the table every year. And I'm not going to sit and be a nerd, but look up the power of compound interest and you'll slap yourself for leaving that money on the table. So if you don't know your employer match, figure it out. Make sure you're contributing that annually and don't leave that money on the table. And Shell, I hear you. For my unemployed folks and even employed, because I have both a 401k and Roth IRA, seek a Roth IRA. Do your research on it, of course, but don't leave the power of your retirement life in the hands of your employer alone. So seek a self-funded retirement account as well. My suggestion is of a Roth IRA. All right, the next topic I want to cover is praise every win. My friends have actually challenged me to do this over the years, because a lot of times when you are super aligned to your end goal, you know everything before that doesn't matter. You just sweep it under the rug, like, okay, I did that, what's next? And that's how my mindset has been for a very long time. But then I also learned the importance of praising the small wins and every win along the way. It's like great re-energizing checkpoint. So if you're trying to lose weight and you go 5 days without eating sugar, celebrate that. And celebrate it in any way that makes you feel good. I think it's very, very important, especially when you're talking about 20-year goals. Like, you got to have something along the way that keeps you focused and keeps you on track. So make sure you're praising all of your wins, whether small or big. They all add up and they all matter. So the next 2 bullets really are a combination of the importance of networking. We all know your network is your net worth. But the top 2 points I want to pull out of networking, because I think a lot of times when the topic comes up, nobody really goes over how to network or why you should network. So the top 2 bullets that I've personally gotten from networking is negotiation tactics. I've learned a lot by networking vertically and not just laterally. Make sure you're not just networking to connect with people above you. It's very important to connect with the person to your left and right as well, because at some point all of them have to move up too. And I think it's easier to build an organic connection with people that's next to you than it is you trying to network up. I'm not saying don't do it, but make sure your network is diverse so that you can be able to trade negotiation tactics. And don't be afraid to exchange strategies and pro tips daily. Like literally me and my friends, that's what we do every day. I had a friend introduce me to a platform called Notion last week, and my mind was blown. I feel like my whole life has changed because I've been able to categorize my life by revenue streams and compartmentalize like my thoughts in one place. And it has a mobile app, so I was super excited about that. But the key to what I'm saying is make sure you're exchanging strategies and pro tips daily, because not only are the people in your network going to see you as a value, once they see you as a value, you no longer have to fear reaching out and asking for help. I know a lot of people are afraid to reach out and ask for help. You got to dead that too. So exchange information. Don't just always be the one that's taken. Make sure you're giving to the relationship as well. Next thing I want to talk about is reading lists. Please, please, please create a reading list. For me personally, I make sure my reading list is aligned to what it is I'm working on and what that end goal is. So for example, I know I want to eventually get into real estate investments. A good friend of mine introduced me to tax liens. So I have a book on my reading list now that goes over the basics of tax liens and how to get into that. Make sure you have a reading list that's aligned to your passions, your goals, all of that. Reading, it literally exposes you to things that you may not have been exposed to without reading. So I think that's very, 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 very important, especially if you're the person that's still going to be continuing your deep dive to decide exactly what it is your end goal is, what that looks like, and what your plan is going to be. Don't be afraid to read. And audiobooks is the wave. I've literally been able to read so many more books in such a little time frame because of audiobooks. I don't know where I've been all this time, but I literally finished my first audiobook like a month ago, and I'm not looking back. Also, regularly check your mental health. Therapy is usually covered by health insurance. If you don't have health insurance, make sure you're being kind to yourself. Don't be afraid to check in with yourself. Make sure you're allocating time to do things that make you happy. That's going to be very, very important that you're pouring into yourself as you consider what it is you want out of life and how you're going to get there. Don't just go to the point where you're forgetting to take care of yourself. I know that's also a conversation that's traditionally taboo in the Black community. We got to dead that too. I see a question. What would you say the best book that you have read that has helped you most with your mindset where you are today? Purpose-Driven Life. My mom gave me that book when I graduated from high school, and I have literally read it once a year or every other year, and I have a different take on it every time. It's more of a devotion book, though. It's not like a narrative or anything, but that definitely is a single-handed book that probably has changed my mindset the most on life, to answer Serena's question in the chat. Last thing I want to go over, hire help once you need it. I am so tired of seeing Black brands and businesses that reach a peak and then you could tell they got stingy with their income to where they didn't want to reinvest in the company. It's killing the quality of your brand. You can't be afraid to reinvest in your brand so that you can achieve new heights. And that's what I meant by it's easy to launch a company, but not everybody can maintain or scale it. If you need customer service help, hire a customer service rep. You can make more money. So again, please hire help once you need it. I cannot say that enough. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I know we're coming up on time. Last thing I wanted to do was give you guys some ways to connect with me. That's my LinkedIn name, Instagram name, Twitter name. And then my business is also looking to grow right now. We're hiring freelance business development recruiters, social media, and virtual assistants follow us on Instagram, connect there. You can message me, you can email us, and we can go from there if you're interested in hearing more about those opportunities. But thank you all for engaging in the chat. It was a pleasure talking to you all, kinda. And I hope y'all have a happy Sunday.